Welcome back into Grand Slam Sports. I'm Jay Sach.
I'm Charles Foster.
I'm Samuel Gailey.
We'll quickly begin now with Monday Night Football, a battle of the two Texas teams. Wasn't really a battle. The Houston Texans get the victory easily, 34-10 over Cooper Rush and the Cowboys, guys.
Yeah, like you said, not really a battle, more the massacre of Texas. I mean, the Texans are just a lot better of a team right now than the Cowboys. The Cowboys are in shambles right now, and they're just not having a very good season. And Texans, they're starting to get their stride back after, a pretty injury-riddled middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a slow start for the Texans here. I think Dak Prescott would have made a difference if they did have. Cooper Rush tends to struggle, especially last weekend. He got subbed out for Trey Lance. I think they're going to look at a new quarterback option, especially going into this weekend. But I really feel like Dak Prescott would have brought something different to this team, especially that connection with CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb, especially last week, 5 targets for 23 yards. This week, a little bit May is the main focus of things. So I like where Dallas is headed, but I think they just need a regime change.
And then I know we've talked about Joe Mixon before, but this guy continues to shine as a Texan. 109 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys defense. This guy has been on a tear so far in Houston.
Yeah, we talked about it coming into last season where this was like the year or the offseason of running backs coming to good teams. I mean, we saw the Mixon, we saw Jacobs, we saw all these good running backs go to these good teams. And Mixon has definitely been the one that's worked out the best for the Texans because he's made an already potent Texans offense even more dangerous because his ability to play in the power game and also, he's a receiving option as well, has been great for the Houston Texans.
I really want to credit Mixon, but I feel like any running back could be successful in this system. I think it's a pass-first system, which opens up the run. And I think that's what gets Joe Mixon his yards. I mean, we saw it with Dameon Pierce when he went on that tear a year or so ago. We saw it with a bunch of other running backs. Devin Singletary did well in the Texans.
I mean, you can say that he did well, but, I mean, Mixon is shining way more than either
I'm
Singletary
not taking away from that, but I'm saying, like, if a Josh Jacobs went to the Texans or another one of those running backs, I feel like he would have a similar season just because the O-line is just so good at blocking up front. And C.J. Stroud, to start the season, had this plethora of weapons to throw to that opens up the run game. So, I mean, I do agree. Joe Mixon's balling out. But I feel like with that O-line, I think most running backs will see that opportunity, especially in the run game.
Looking into last night, Thursday night football, the Cleveland Browns take down the Pittsburgh Steelers in a snow game. First half, a little bit of snow, but then second half, the snow effect from Lake Erie was pouring down on the field, and the Browns get a gutsy win.
Yeah, I mean, those Christmas edits are starting early this year, and I mean, just a great game for the Browns. I mean, famous Jameis has shown himself to be, he's had an interesting career path for him, a number 1 overall pick out of FSU, and for him to come in and have the year that he's having this year, and he's 30 years old, and he's been playing great, and he's been like a boost of confidence to a Browns team that, let's be honest, needs it because they've not been good no matter what pieces they bring on. He's going to be a good situational quarterback similar to a Flacco on the Colts for any team that needs a year of just, we need another year to get a quarterback.
I think it's not really about the Browns winning. I think it's the Steelers kind of crapping the bed here. I think there's a couple play calls within this game where I looked at my television and I said, Mike Tomlin, what are you doing? One of those things was not calling a timeout with 1:32 left in the second half. He opted to let the clock run out. They ran out of time to preserve a timeout. There's a couple other things. The 4th down calls, the 4th down plays, terrible. We have Justin Fields running to the right, the tight end missing a block, and he gets tackled in the backfield for a loss of 4. Honestly, I don't think it's the Cleveland Browns being good. Jameis Winston sort of started chucking the ball and praying to God, and he got picked off too. Jameis Winston's going to take those chances down the field, and that's a risk and reward of how Cleveland play. But I think it's the Steelers that lost the game, and it should be on Mike Tomlin for some gutsy calls here and there, especially in the
I think Myles Garrett won in the game. 3 tackles for loss, that forced fumble, 3 sacks. It was a great day for Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. Moving forward to Charles's Jets, they are cleaning house right now. They have just fired, I believe, their GM, correct?
Yeah.
And they are going to basically start over. And do you believe that Rodgers is going to stay another year, or is he about done?
I think this is where, that toss-up is not – it was widely believed that Rodgers was going to stay. until Joe Douglas got fired. Joe Douglas we kind of thought would be in the safety seat, even though the team has been losing a lot. Joe Douglas is the reason that the team even is expected to win. He's the one that had all those draft classes. He's the one that did so good with the Breece Hall, Sauce, and Garrett Wilson all in 1 year. So, I mean, to see him on the chopping block and get fired was definitely surprising. I do believe that Rodgers will be gone. Woody Johnson does not like Aaron Rodgers that much. And that does leave the hole of who will be quarterback next year for the Jets.
I mean, so where do the Jets go from here now? I mean, the fire their GM, you got to think there's more heads coming soon if they keep on losing. Where do they go?
I mean, you definitely got to figure out what you're going to do quarterback situation. I mean, it's the most important position on the field. And with no Rodgers probably, and currently your only real other options, Jordan Travis, who's still recovering from injury, and you got Tyrod Taylor who could be okay. But like they're gonna have to focus on getting quarterback in this draft or in the offseason.
I love watching the Jets struggle. It's just like, it's a favorite pastime. When I'm having a bad day, I go over to the Jets Instagram page and I look in the comments and I just read all the comments. It's great. But for me, I have no idea why the Jets fired their general manager. The only thing he missed on was a quarterback. That is the only thing, genuinely from an outsider perspective for me, is the only thing he missed was a quarterback. He got you're talking about, he got the cornerback. A little overrated in my opinion. He's been iffy this season, but he's been top. And I love Sauce Gardner. Even as a Patriots fan, I love Sauce Gardner. Hit on Garrett Wilson. He has all of these other hits on his resume, and for him to pay for Aaron Rodgers not being up to snuff seems kind of an overreaction for me from the Jets standpoint. I think Aaron Rodgers goes, and they're back at square one of trying to find a quarterback. And what always fascinates me is that they were better last year with Zach Wilson at this time than they were this year with Aaron Rodgers.
We're going to stay in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and move on to the Giants. And Daniel Jones, now the third-string quarterback, they're going to go with DeVito now instead above Drew Lock as well for the Giants. They are also imploding. It's not a fun time in New York right now, guys.
Yeah, no, New York not having a fun time in the NFL world. I think DeVito, it's an interesting option. I mean, the Giants, they're just tanking, basically.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
But I think that for me, the biggest issue is the way that they're handling the Daniel Jones. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they had him playing a practice safety reps.
Yeah, it was a scout team.
Listen. I saw a quarterback, who was a former quarterback on Twitter, say that if you are not going to be one or two, you're playing scout safety in practice, like 80% of the time. So it's not really surprising to see that.
So to have him in that third spot, I do think that it will do the opposite of boost, and tank morale for the Giants, because Giants players, especially Dexter Lawrence and things like that, they like Daniel Jones, at least as a person, to where even if he's playing bad, they do not like to see him being disrespected the way that he has.
But, I mean, he's a $40 million man. He can't play the way he was playing.
Absolutely.
You can't really say, oh, he's a good person, and then watch him play bad. I get that. But if the homie's playing bad, then I'm going to tell him he's playing bad. And you have to hold each other accountable, like you guys say. It's a $40 million quarterback who can barely throw the ball down the field. I get it. He doesn't have the options. I get it. Saquon Barkley's not there. I get everything X, Y, and Z. But for him to struggle the way he is, he needs a new change of scenery. We saw Baker Mayfield do that as well. So it's going to be an interesting story for Daniel Jones especially.
Now we're going to go to another team that's also a dumpster fire, and the Dallas Cowboys. It's just a dumpster fire show today at this point. We're just going through all the teams that are sucking and teams that shouldn't be as bad as they are. But the Cowboys, Dak Prescott out, Cooper Rush filling in. I think Lance is a better option, in my opinion, for the Cowboys.
100%.
But they go for Cooper Rush instead, and they're bad. The Cowboys are bad. Let's just get that right off the bat. What is next for the Cowboys and Jerry World?
Well, see, I think one of the biggest things that they wanted was to see if they could get a running back in the draft. That was one of the biggest things, Ashton Genty to the Cowboys. I mean, they've already have the renders of his jersey coming out. But now it starts to bring the question of, is that really what they need, or do they need everything? I mean, they have a receiver. They have a solid defense at pieces, but I think they need to focus more on the defensive end, because the defensive, they have the stars, it's similar to the Jets, where they have the stars, but then in between those little stars are sprinkled in not that good players.
You're looking at a team, we've talked about this time and time again, it's a team full of individuals, it's not a team. It's not a team environment, it's a lot of me. We got CeeDee Lamb signing that deal. That's an individual player. You got Micah Parsons, individual player. Dak Prescott, gonna resign him? What's the
They already did.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. It's about the individualistic opportunities of these teams, and we can see that about the Jets as well. You got Devontae Adams, you got Aaron Rodgers, but they just don't mesh well as a team. That's where the Cowboys are going to struggle. I actually see CeeDee Lamb requesting a trade out of this situation.
I mean, I can see it, but the Cowboys are imploding literally. The stadium also is falling apart. Pre-game, you had pieces of sheet metal falling down from the sky. It's just all falling apart right now.
Quite literally.
Literally falling apart for the Cowboys and the stadium. But we'll head into our Pick'em segment, beginning with the Vikings and the Bears.
Bear down.
You going with the Bears then?
Yeah, I'm saying
Yeah?
Bears down. I had the Vikings here. The Bears looked good last week against the Packers, but
Tricked me.
still struggling.
Give me the Vikings here. Sorry, Aaron. I mean, I think that the Vikings just are going to come out there looking bad. Oh, sorry, Dylan, too. I think the Vikings are they're going to come out on top.
We got like 3 Bears fans in the studio right now. I'll make them all happy. The Bears are going to win this game against the Vikings.
Wow.
They've lost too many games in a row. They're bound to bounce back at some point. And the Vikings are just, this is a trap game for them, in my opinion. So give me the Bears in this one. We'll head into Sam's team, the Patriots, facing the Miami Dolphins.
Let's go.
We'll begin with you, Charles.
Give me the Dolphins coming out on top of this one. I just don't have Drake May has looked good. I will give him credit. I'm a hater of the Patriots, but Drake May has looked good. But I think the Dolphins are going to come out. They're going to look better. They're going to take this one.
Sam?
I think my Pats going to pull this off. Let me tell you
against them
why.
once.
Let me tell you why. Drake May has kept us in the game the last 2 weekends, and quite literally, it's down to the last drive. He throws a rookie interception. I think the Patriots are going to shock the Finns this weekend. Squish the fish.
Dolphins win this one easily, in my opinion. Now we'll go into an NFC matchup, the Bucks and the Giants. This one's pretty straightforward for me, but we'll begin with you, Sam.
Clean sweep. I think it's going to be a clean sweep. I think
so
here.
too. Bucks.
Yeah,
that was way too easy for all of us. Broncos and Raiders, an AFC West matchup. Charles look at me because he knows what's coming. Give me the Raiders.
No, I knew he was
Defend
going to do it. Defend it.
I don't trust the Broncos. Listen,
Huh?
Bo Nix has looked good, yes, but the Broncos, I don't trust them. They have a good defense. I'll give them that. But other than that, their offense, I don't trust it. The Raiders are bound to win some stupid game at some point. They do it every year. And also, as a Colts fan, they're already have this playoff in the playoff picture, so go Raiders.
I think I'll take the easy points here. Give me the Broncos. I think the Broncos,
Unfortunate.
they do look good. I like the way the Broncos have looked this season, and they were a blocked field goal away from beating the Chiefs. I like this team.
Trust their offense? I don't trust the Raiders' offense. Are you kidding me? Jacoby Myers, wide receiver 1, ex-Patriot, shout out. But come on, Jace, come on.
Are you saying something? I can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Move on.
49ers and Packers will get more into a better game now. Sam, we'll begin with you.
Give me the Cheeseheads. Give me Green Bay.
Charles?
I want to say the Cheeseheads because the Niners are pretty hurt right now, but I just feel like the Packers, they've kind of looked these past few weeks.
I mean, they've both looked but I'm going to go San Fran. I mean, they had that rough loss. They had that rough loss last time out. I think they're going to bounce back and beat the Chiefs.
San Fran nowadays is a wounded animal, quite literally.
Yeah,
You're a Patriots fan. The Cardinals and Seahawks. Last one, I will begin this one, and I will pick the Cardinals. I like the way they're playing right now. They just beat the Niners. They have Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray looks really good, and they have a really good roster. I like Arizona.
I want to tell you guys something You said the Seahawks weren't going to win last week. They ended up winning. I just want to point that out, okay? But I have the Cardinals here. So I agree with Chase there. But I like the Seahawks.
Clean sweep or no?
I like the Seahawks, but I'm going clean sweep. They
Oh,
just
yeah.
whooped on my Jets. Give me the Cardinals.
There you go. Now we'll head into our final segment here, the Rookie Report, and we'll begin with the NFL Rookie of this week.
I got Bo Nix for my rookie this week, and I want to give another shout out to the Jets doing what the Jets do best, and that was activating Bo Nix. Bo Nix sucked in his first 3 weeks, but when he played against the Jets, that's whenever he came alive. So with that being said, I give the Jets the credit. Bo Nix could be an underrated Rookie of the Year pick over Jaden Daniels.
I could see. I mean, he just threw for 300 yards in that last game. He looks good, and this is what Denver needed was a young, revitalized quarterback to really show them the way. And right now, Bo Nix is doing so.
Must be really cool to get a quarterback from the draft. That's actually good.
I mean, yeah, it's fair. It's okay. You'll be all right. I mean,
that's right.
You're just a Jets fan.
We'll hold a candle vigil outside for you, Charles. All right.
You just let AR run all over you too. That sucks. he turned away.
We love bullying Jets fans.
Turn back around. We're going to go into some baseball real quick. The rookies of the year in the AL and NL are Paul Skeens and Luis Gil, 2 pitchers. And that's kind of rare for rookies. I feel like 2 pitchers winning Rookie of the Year.
I mean, yeah, they looked fantastic this year. I mean, Skeens was actually in a dogfight between Merrill and Chorio, so I think it was pretty interesting to see.
And then for Gil to win over Cowser as well. Cowser, people thought he was robbed, the Orioles.
I definitely think was Rookie of the Year. He was so good, I didn't even know he was a rookie until recently.
Well, I mean, he played in 22, 23, and 24, a little bit of games, but he kept his rookie status.
He kept his rookie status. He did not graduate, so I definitely think very well deserved for Hill. I think Hauser played good, but I think he'll just play better. And I definitely have no problem, even as a Jays fan looking at the Yankees, no
as good as Paul Skeens was for his rookie year, he was in the Cy Young conversation. I mean, yeah, that's insane. This guy's going to be a force to be reckoned with for years to come.
Thank you, Tarek Skubal, for winning, though.
Yeah, Tarek Skubal won the Cy Young. Goodness, thank you. If Skeens would have won, that would have been crazy. But now we'll head into our last rookie. Sam, who you got?
I got Trinity Rodman, and you can argue that she's not a rookie. She's actually been playing professionally since she was 18, 17 years old. But this past year, she contributed a lot to a Washington Spirit team that was kind of depleted up front. She did her thing. She plays on the right, and she likes to cut in on that left foot like wingers tend to do. I really like the player profile. Yeah. I mean, as a soccer nerd, I really enjoy watching player profiles of how they attack, how they attack space.
And she's looked good for the U.S. as well. Yeah. I mean, she played, in those previous tournaments for the U.S., and she's looked good off the wing, scoring goals for the U.S. And she's kind of that next, big-time U.S. player after, like, the Alex Morgans.
Yeah. You're basically looking at, I wouldn't say a replacement for Alex Morgan.
Well, yeah.
But definitely that next generation, like what you said, of players for the United States.
Well, we'll get into some more soccer talk. That'll be up next. It'll be me and Sam talking some soccer next on Grand Slam Sports. Let's continue our soccer talk, beginning with the Nations League. As America played Jamaica in a two-legged bout, they win that one on aggregate 4-2 over the Jamaicans.
I didn't really see a problem with the United States team here. They cruise. Mauricio Pochettino's team, definitely, he's taking this team by the reins and he's putting it into high gear. I love his formation. I love his tactics. He's doing a lot of things that Greg Berhalter just refused to do, and especially giving creativity and giving that wing instead of playing Christian Pulisic centrally. He's letting him drift outside where he is so lethal for AC Milan. He's letting him be on that wing. He's letting him do this creative stuff. It capped off here, Jace. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's good. I mean, obviously 4-2 over Jamaica isn't exactly what you would want. I mean, allowing 2 goals on Jamaica usually, you want to shut out a country like Jamaica. But I mean, to move on, it's one of the first games for Pochettino. This is one that they had to go out and get because they were to go. If they were to go and lose this, it wouldn't be a good look for Pochettino in his first few games as manager. But this guy looks good. Christian Pulisic, I mean, he's been so good at Milan this year, and for him to come out now on the U.S. men's national team and continue his shine. There's plenty of injuries too to the U.S. The right back out. I mean, you have injuries across the entire team, and they're still succeeding.
I love it. The bright future for the United States national team, especially with this man leading the charge. Sort of the new Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey,
he's the next one up.
The LeBron James.
Well,
LeBron James of soccer.
He is the now for the U.S. I mean, he was like, the youth guy a few years ago, but now he is the guy for U.S. soccer. And with all those prospects across Europe right now for the U.S., they have a really, really good shot at making some noise here in the next few years.
Especially.
Yeah, because they have plenty of players in Europe. But now we'll look back into Europe and look at Kolo Muani and his transfer rumors. Sam?
I mean, I think that Kolo Muani has a lot of opportunities across Europe. He's from PSG. If you guys aren't familiar with his game, he's pretty pacey. He's about 6'2", 6'1". He's able to stand up in that box, get his head on the ball, flick over. He plays more of a target man. He drops in, false nine, receives the ball.
I think he's better as kind of that false nine, not actually like a bona fide striker per se. But I mean, him at PSG, PSG's kind of right now.
He wants the move. He wants the move.
I would
He's one of those players where you can tell that he's happy where he is, but
he wants something better.
If a Manchester United reached out, if a Bayern reached out, he'll be like, oh.
And for him, I feel like he's a good enough player that he could go to like a Premier League, like a Bundesliga, like a La Liga, 100%. Rather than playing in Ligue 1 in France, where it's a pretty soft league. You got Lyon about to get relegated because they did something stupid.
Man,
that's a whole story.
We can cover that another day, but I mean, like Ligue 1, like literally did not have a sponsor, and now it is sponsored. McDonald's Ligue 1. That sort of shows the state of the French league right now. I think in order to grow his potential of what it already is, I think he needs to go.
Yeah, I would agree because I mean PSG obviously they've lost players recently like Mbappe, the Messi's, the Neymar's, all leaving, and he's kind of that next one up for PSG, but it's just not working out. I mean PSG they're still a good team, don't get me wrong, but they are not one that is going to compete in the Champions League with the roster they currently have.
No, they cannot. It's just
It's not possible.
It's a lack of talent, and
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Let's go ahead and look into Bayer Leverkusen, and after last year they had a really almost an undefeated season. But now they are starting to lose some games. They lost 4-0 to Liverpool in the Champions League. They just tied a game in the Bundesliga, and they're struggling now.
Bayer never losing has become a myth, as like what you said, it's struggling to pass results. And I think it's honestly down to finding that moment of magic. You look around with players like Jude Bellingham, for example, able to find that moment of magic where he's able to squeak one in. And time after time again, in the Bundesliga, they did that. They found those 85th to 90th minute goals. They squeaked it in, got a result. Frimpong and Grimaldo looked dynamic on the wings. And I told you guys this last year. I think I did. I hope I did. But if one of the wingbacks starts looking iffy, that's going to pose problems because they whip balls in all day
They're the most
long.
important part of how they play. And, I mean, I don't think this will continue. Their roster, their manager is just too good for this to continue for Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, look at last year; they were unbeatable, literally unbeatable. But now they are showing some signs of weakness.
I think honestly, what's going to happen is season's going to bottom out. Frimpong's going to leave to join Manchester City, join Manchester United. One of those bigger clubs where you're competing every single year for the title. And then Grimaldo, it's just going to be a domino effect. Alonso's going to leave.
He deserves a bigger spot somewhere.
Yeah, it's just the start of a dumpster fire, in my opinion.
Now we'll go back into women's soccer, and Putellas gets her 200th goal for Barcelona, Sam.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite women's players to watch. The 200th goal, that's insane in any sport. I mean, especially in soccer. I mean, I believe wholeheartedly that she is the Lionel Messi of women's soccer. I mean,
Barcelona has 3 or 4 of them.
I don't really see. She's won the Ballon d'Or for the women's side time and time. She is that vocal point in that center mid spot. She can play off the half turn. She can play off the pivot. She's able to take the ball and spin in behind. She has a great shot. She has a great passing range. Like, it's one of those generational players that Barcelona has either
Barcelona women's team is
or
insane.
transformed.
Insane. They've won the Ballon d'Or like 5 years in a row or something like that. It's just insane what the women's team for Barcelona is doing.
With Atana Bomati, excuse my
Bonmati,
pronunciation.
last 2 Ballon d'Ors.
Bomati as well. That center mid area.
Yeah, it's unstoppable.
I have no words.
Well, that'll do it for our soccer segment. I'll rejoin Charles as we talk some basketball in our next segment. Let's talk some hoops. Charles Foster rejoins, and we will begin with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're 15-0. They went into TD Garden in the NBA Cup, and they finally remembered they can lose basketball games.
No, Darius Garland remembered that he is not prime Kyrie Irving. Darius Garland not having a very good game against the Celtics. The Celtics come in and win a big one. And that's what a lot of people were saying was the biggest issue with the Cavs is that they're playing in the East and that they're not playing against a real super team, and they go against the Celtics and they got embarrassed until the end. Whenever they did come back, they did make it look good, but that game was not a good game for the Cavs.
And that's part of the NBA Cup too. So a big win for Boston, because Boston lost their first NBA Cup game to Atlanta to a Trae Youngless Hawks. That was insane, by the way. But they got a much needed win to stay alive in contention in that Eastern group. But the Cavaliers, they did rebound. They played a Pelicans team who had 0 of their 5 usual starters and whooped up on them. But the Cavaliers are still one of the best teams in basketball, still one of the premier teams in basketball right now, Charles.
Yeah, no, the Cavs, they look great. I mean, they're a very solid team. Darius Garland flips a coin and decides if he wants to be good or not. And then the rest of the team, whenever they're healthy, they play good. I mean, it's a good team. Whenever you have bench players like Georges Niang, you have other players just playing really good. You don't need to score. I mean, you don't need to have your stars playing good. So, I mean, it's just one of those teams, like, they're good front and back, and they could actually be a contender in a pretty top-heavy Eastern Conference.
Do you see them come playoff time competing with like a Boston?
No. I don't see them beating Boston.
Do you see anyone beating Boston?
I don't see anyone in the East beating Boston. I think Boston's just, I mean, they were the best team last year, and they just technically only got better because they're going to mold better. I
feel like the Cavs have the roster. I mean, it's a first-year head coach, obviously, but it seems to be working. I mean, you have the roster of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, the bigs of Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, very, very good bigs with those two. And the roster is there for Cleveland. It's just about if they can continue to gel, continue to play the way they are. If they stay healthy, I could see them pushing Cleveland like 6-7 games.
Yeah, the main issue will be against the Boston will be can they guard against the perimeter three. That's going to be where the issue comes with the Kristaps being healthy.
Look at the rookie class. It's a little bit better than it started out for sure, and maybe a little bit better than we had presumed. I mean, you have people like Zach Edey, Jared McCain, Dalton Connect, all playing phenomenal right now for the rookie class.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I would consider partially casuals that were saying that this rookie class sucks, yada, yada, yada. And I think that, you know, as someone we spent so much time doing research on because we had the draft cast, and with us doing that, I realized like this is a pretty solid draft class. I mean, yeah, some of the players to the naked eye don't look that good, but I mean, they're showing otherwise.
I mean, you got a guy like Jared McCain, who obviously was kind of middle of the first round, but I mean, coming from Duke, we knew this guy could score. And that's exactly what he's doing right now for Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia is struggling immensely, but he is the one providing some kind of spark for the Sixers right now. He's scoring like almost 20 points per game right now.
And also, this is another example, and I'm going to say it right here, that stop overthinking your draft picks. I mean, the issue is with some of these things and some of these teams is they overthink so much. I mean, let's look at a prime example, Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
This man was a bucket. One of the best players in college basketball, if not the best player in college basketball.
I agree.
And every other team, 16 other teams looked at it and said, nah, we don't want that. And he just went and dropped to 37 for the Lakers. I mean, you just put him on the Lakers that already have LeBron James and others.
This is one of those things where I tend to think drafting a more NBA, older, NBA-ready player is a better case scenario for certain teams than drafting a project. Because you see teams draft like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old raw talent, but then you have the Lakers being Dalton Connect, like just 23 years old, from Tennessee, obviously. But this guy can go in and play now and score now and contribute now for a Lakers squad that needs that.
And too many people saw Giannis and think that they can get the next Giannis. And Giannis is Giannis because no one else is like him. And there's going to be players like him, but you can't just bank off that with your number 6 overall pick. I'm looking at you, Charlotte.
Huh. Poor Hornets, man. They just can't get anything right. Except for beating the Pacers. That's another story, though. But we'll look into the NBA Cup that we were talking about earlier. Obviously, Boston beating Cleveland in the NBA Cup game. And we're going to try to predict who is going to be in the final and who's going to win the NBA Cup. Obviously, last year, Lakers over Pacers was the final for the NBA Cup. This year might look a little bit different, but Charles, who's your two and who you got?
I got it looking a little bit similar. I got the Lakers going back. I feel like they're just made for the NBA Cup. They're just one of those teams that get hot right in the midway through the season. And this right here is just, it's made for that. And the Eastern Conference representing, I do not have the Pacers, though. I have the Magic coming in. And
with no Paolo, though. I mean, they're not have Paolo probably for the rest of the NBA Cup games. I mean, they're 2-0, obviously, in group play. And they've looked decent without Paolo. Fair play to them. But without him, they're going to struggle in some of these bigger games.
I have them actually not as much because Franz Wagner. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to take my I'm a better man. And I'll admit that I was wrong. Franz Wagner is not bad.
In a second. We'll get to Franz in a second. This guy has looked very good. Let's just give him, his roses now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go into my prediction. I know me and you thought similar. You had to change years a little bit there. But I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors making it. I just love the way they look right now. Steph Curry's, he's Steph Curry. This guy's never going to leave his prime, it feels like. And then you add Buddy Hield as the new, second guy. And I mean, after Clay left, you add Buddy Hield, and the Warriors look like a contender again. 2-0 in group play so far, 2 very good wins in group play so far. I think they're going to win the NBA Cup this year over the New York Knicks. I like the Knicks roster. I like what they have. They've shown some signs of struggling, but they're 2-0 in group play still, and they still have a roster that can win now and go win the NBA Cup.
Fair enough. Hey, I respect it.
We'll look into